ahead and get started. So welcome again. My name is Gina Lee. I'm one of the admissions counselors here, and I'm also going to be your moderator for tonight. We have a few special guests here for you guys tonight. And if I can go ahead and ask you guys to please introduce yourself. We'll start off with Uncle Jeff. You can do a brief introduction on who you are and what you do here, and we'll get the session started.
Thanks, Gina. Welcome, everybody. Great to see you guys. I'm Uncle Jeff. I'm an admissions counselor here at Pacific University. I work with students in Washington County, Yamhill County, Columbia County, Clackamas County in Oregon, the Central Valley of California, and the state of Arizona. And it's great to have you. Thanks a lot.
Awesome. Brent, take on the next.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Gina Lee. I'm pumped to be here tonight. I always love learning more about our programs. I've been at Pacific 5 years. 4 years I was an assistant basketball coach, and now I'm stepping into this counselor role earlier this year. And it's been a great adjustment for me, and learning about this side of it, the admissions piece, and being able to help students from Southern California, Sacramento area, and then Eastern Washington. So yeah, I'm excited to hear what we have tonight. Thanks, Gina Lee.
Of course, and not last but not least, Keith.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Keith Buckley. I'm the Director of Athletics. I am in my 13th year at Pacific. I came up to Pacific from California. I was at UC Davis at the time. In the summer of 2009 to start football at Pacific after about a 20-year hiatus, and spent 10 years as the head football coach before stepping into the Director of Athletics role about 8 weeks before the pandemic started, and really have enjoyed getting everybody back and rolling, and just feeling the positivity around athletics this year specifically, and excited to talk more about it tonight.
Awesome, thank you. And Uncle, I think you might have neglected to tell us how long you've been at Pacific.
Oh boy, I've been working. I was a student at Pacific, student athlete at Pacific. I was a coach here for 24 years in 3 sports: football, baseball, and soccer. I've been working here 42 and a half years, and it's been an absolute joy. Thanks, Gina.
Of course, of course. So for the agenda tonight, it's going to be fairly simple. I'm just going to go ahead and ask Uncle Jeff here to talk to us a little bit about what the admissions process is going to look like, and if it's going to be any different for our student athletes here on campus. I'm going to then send it over to Kate to tell us about D3 and what that looks like. And we've also had a few questions come in on the registration form, so we'll make sure to go through those questions. We'll actually also show you an inside tour video of our athletic facilities. So you'll kind of get to see what it'll look like on the indoors of everything. And then we'll just kind of take some additional questions that might be coming in through the session. So without further ado, Uncle Jeff, can you talk to us a little bit about what the admissions process looks like, if it's going to be any different for our student athletes? And Brad, I might ask you to talk to them a little bit about the timeline, where things should be at this point.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Gina. So if you have not applied yet to Pacific, then really important that you do that. I'll ask Gina to put the link in the chat. It's really simple to apply to university. We use Common App only. It's free, doesn't cost anything. You don't need a fee waiver or any of those things. Our first early action deadline has passed, and that's basically really we're on a rolling basis with admissions, my friends. And so I do see some of my students that have been accepted already. So good job being here tonight. So what happens is when you fill out your Common App, there are two essay questions. One, the Common App has 6 writing prompts. You can write on whatever you want, really. And the object is to be yourself, be you. That's going to help your counselor, whether that's Brant or one of my colleagues or myself, get to know you better. So my encouragement is write your essay separately, whatever you're writing about. Have somebody check it over, put it in a Word document, have someone check it over, a teacher, etc., and then copy and paste and put it into your Common App. The second essay question is really pretty simple. It's how does Pacific fit into your educational goals? And really, if you boil it down, it's like, hey, why do you want to come to Pacific? Why do you like Pacific, right? So not a lot of stress, not a lot of pressure. We want to encourage students to apply as soon as possible so that we can make a decision. We'll need your Common App, we'll need your essays, and we'll need your official transcript sent to us from your high school. And we'd love for you to send them to us, but we can't. We've got to have it come from your high school, and it's for us to consider it official. We are test optional, but if you have taken an SAT or an ACT, please send your counselor your SAT or ACT score. Send your admissions counselor. The best way to do that is to go into your SAT or ACT account, screenshot your scores, make sure we can see your name, the test date, and all of the scores. So that would be both scores for the SAT and all 4 scores for the ACT, because it can never hurt you by sending us the scores. It can only help you. So if you've done that, please do send those to your admissions counselor. And then once we've got that, the counselor will review your file. If you are accepted, what we like to do is to call you personally and congratulate you on your acceptance. So the other thing is we'll send you a congratulations email. We send you an official acceptance packet in the mail. That's acknowledgement of being accepted and your scholarship. That is not the financial aid award. Financial aid does not come out until around the end of February, beginning of March. So it's really, really important that your family, you and your family, list Pacific on your FAFSA. So we're doing acceptances right now. In fact, before this event, I made about 20 congratulations calls to prospective students and student athletes. The process is the same for everyone. So everybody's on an even keel there, on an even playing field. So you qualify for, if you get accepted, you will receive an academic scholarship. You will get an academic scholarship. So it depends on your academic profile. So we'll continue with that until the cows come home, basically. So does that cover it all, Gina, or did I leave anything out?
No, I think that was great.
All right.
For Brant, I do have a question. Uncle touched a little bit about those academic scholarships. If they get a rewarded one, is that reissued every year? Could you go into a little bit of a breakdown of what that academic scholarship looks like?
Yeah, absolutely. So there are 3 different scholarship levels: $20,000 a year for 4 years, $25,000 a year for 4 years, $30,000 a year for 4 years. Those are based on your academic profile, everything in your transcripts in your application. The counselors will determine what that scholarship is based on the criteria that's set for each one. And they're renewable for all 4 years, every year for 4 years. In addition, Senior Preview Scholarship Day, if you haven't done one, you got to do one, because you get an additional $1,000 a year for 4 years in scholarship money. But when you get a scholarship from Pacific, it's renewable for all 4 years. To maintain your scholarship, you have to pass 24 semester hours a year throughout the fall and spring and the winter term here at Pacific, and maintain a 2.0 or better. It's called satisfactory progress towards graduation. So yeah, we want to kind of take some of that stress off your shoulders, and like maintaining that. You don't have to have a 3.7 to maintain it. Once you get it, you get it. So I hope that helps.
Yes, it does. Thank you so much. And I'm going to swing this over to Brant real quick. And this is the big question of the night that we've been getting. Do we have athletic scholarships?
Wow, how do I follow Uncle Jeff? Honored to be working with you, call you a colleague and friend. As a former athlete at Pacific and now working there for so long. The Division III level, student athletes are not given athletic scholarships. So the Division III, there's different divisions of the NCAA. There's different other governing bodies as well. And I think this is probably something that we'll hit on a couple of times this evening, I'm sure, but definitely not athletic scholarships given at Pacific or any other Division III schools. So but like Uncle Jeff said, that doesn't mean that you're not going to receive scholarship. It's just, it's not tied to whether you're the star or a walk-on. It's completely your academic profile.
Perfect. Thank you. And we'll go into a little bit more detail on all that. Walk-on, you said that word. That's also another big word in some of those questions that we received. So I'm going to actually hand this over to Coach Buck. If you can talk to us a little bit about D3 athletics and what that means for the students here.
Yeah, thanks, Gina. Division III is the largest division of the NCAA. There are the most student athletes at the Division III level than all the others. Really, the only differentiating component is that athletic scholarship piece. And the thing that I want to make sure everybody's aware at the Division II level, it is mostly partial scholarships, not full ride athletic scholarships at Division II, and then NAIA, which is that additional governing body that's not part of the NCAA that you may have heard of. They do a lot of partials as well, and they do it as basically breaking out some of the academic money and renaming it as athletic scholarship. So as you go through this process, I think it's really, really important to understand how merit scholarship, financial aid, and all of those components go to build packages that ultimately yield the absolute most student athlete experience in the country is at the Division III level. And we're really, really excited. There's over 400 Division III institutions across the nation. We are part of the Northwest Conference here in Oregon and Washington. And there's 9 of us that are part of the Northwest Conference. Traditionally one of the better Division III conferences competitively, and fare very, very well in the national championships. And so a lot of times, Division III doesn't kind of get the respect that it deserves, but we go out and compete for national championships in our sports, and we're a very large athletic department at Pacific. We offer 24 varsity sports. We have about 600 student athletes, and it is a huge part of the Pacific experience. Whether you're an athlete or not an athlete, it is very much ingrained in who we are and what we work to accomplish at Pacific, to the tune of, every seat or every 2 seats in your class is a fellow athlete that's managing the student athlete experience and succeeding very, very well. And actually, student athletes at Pacific have a higher GPA than non-student athletes, graduated at a higher rate than non-student athletes. So our athletes really are shining stars at Pacific and are a big part of the institution's culture and success. So all of our teams travel. All of our varsity teams travel. We will get on planes and go down to California to play the Division IIIs there. Our volleyball team went to Texas this fall. We get teams from all over the country that come here. We had a team from Georgia here to play basketball recently. East Texas Baptist came. So it is a national experience at our level. And so it's competitive, it's fun. But at the end of the day, it's built for you to succeed academically as much as built for you to succeed academically and athletically. So it's an awesome experience, and one built for you to achieve all you want to achieve while you're here.
Absolutely. And before we show the video, I don't have my Pacific background, but the 3 of you do. Uncle, can you describe to us what is behind you there? What are we looking at?
This is an aerial view of Lincoln Park stadiums, 3 stadiums. Hanson Stadium and Ledbetter Field is home to football, men's and women's soccer, women's lacrosse, and track. And it's an awesome facility. I believe the 4th largest HD video scoreboard in the state of Oregon. I think Pac-12 schools have a little bit bigger than us, but then there's a 600-seat baseball stadium, completely field turfed infield and bullpens, batting cages, etc., and a beautiful field turf outfield for our softball team, which seats 300. And it's a beautiful facility.
Absolutely. And I know that photo was taken very recently too. So that's a recent photo of our campus and the field there. Brant, you and Keith look like you have very similar backgrounds. I believe they might actually be from 2 different games though. Can you explain to us what is happening in the sea of red behind you guys?
Welcome to the Boxer Den. This was a women's basketball game. The women's team made the postseason, and this was the game that they hosted. And you can see the students turn out to support each other. The football teams over here, I think, and cross country, and with a third of the students being athletes. This is the student section side. The other side was visitors and families. So this is just the student section side of the Stoller Boxer Den. So I'm not sure if I don't know if that is the same game or not, Coach.
Yeah, I can't remember, but free swag. We
Yeah.
give out Red Den t-shirts and get students engaged, and it is really fun, kind of sport to sport, having other teams supporting each other, and we have a tremendous student athlete advisory committee, which is a body of student athletes, a couple representatives from each of our teams that really do all the organization. It's not us as staff that are creating the energy and the excitement around it. It's really the student athlete advisory committee that puts that together. We just last week had our ugly sweater holiday themed game where everybody showed up in their ugly sweaters, and we do different kind of game of the week themes that makes it a lot of fun. But you're in class with each other, you're in the weight room with each other, you're there to cheer on each other throughout those seasons, and that carries across all of our sports. That athletes, when they're not in season, become kind of professional fans in a lot of ways, which is really rewarding to see teams supporting each other in that fashion.
Definitely. Thank you so much. So for our folks who are here, feel free to go ahead and enter in any questions you have in that chat box there. If you're feeling a little shy, you can send it to me directly in a private message, and I'll make sure that your questions get read out loud. But for now, we are going to go ahead. I'm going to share my screen here, and I'm going to ask Keith to go ahead and share with us what we're looking at as we pan through this video, and you can see some of the inside facilities that we have on campus, and we'll move straight to the Q&A.
Awesome. Thank you, Gina. Athletics is housed in the Stoller Center. It's our offices, sports medicine, a lot of our practice. This picture here is our fitness center, and this is kind of general fitness for all students, cardio equipment, racks and platforms. We still don't have live video yet of the new racks and platforms that we just put in this fall. Replaced all of those, now have branded plates and branded platforms and racks for students in there. We also do run classes. There are weightlifting classes for those that so choose. It's our Athletic Hall of Fame. Pacific has played well over 100 years of sports and a lot of success. Basketball gym here. We have 3 courts. Obviously, bleachers come out to that center court. We just rebranded and redid the floor 2 summers ago. And then this is a great benefit to us at Pacific. We're the only small school west of the Mississippi that has an indoor field house. This is a 55-yard field turf facility. So when it rains in Oregon in the winter, we can get inside and continue to work and get everything done that we need to. This is what's called the box. It's attached to the field house, so we can go inside and out in terms of a strength and conditioning component inside in those off winter months. Sports medicine here, we have 5 full-time trainers, which is the most in the conference. So our student athletes are very well taken care of medically with multiple team physicians, physical therapists, chiropractors. It's great service. Our outdoor facilities, this is Hanson Stadium. Ledbetter Field is the field turf. Football, lacrosse, soccer, track, all kind of utilize this facility, as well as that grass field that's on the other side of that. Tremendous support. I think you see the names Phillips and Hanson and Stanich, Buffaro. We have tremendous support from our alums, our community for these facilities. We just field turfed the baseball infield 4 years ago. which gets us outside in the spring earlier than our competitors. Softball, again, we just in September, we field turf the outfield. So this is dated video a little bit here. Again, with the whole idea that we can get outside more. And so really, really accommodating and continuing to improve our facilities. Really in each of the 13 years that I've been at Pacific, we've taken on some level of facility enhancement in athletics to continue to make the experience the best it can be. And in my 3 years at the helm now, there are some very, very ambitious plans for the future moving forward that will be really, really exciting as we kick those off here in the next year or two.
Awesome, thank you. And I know that video was kind of moving a little quickly. And so a lot of great information, and great to hear that there's going to be more updates. A little harder for us because we could barely keep up with some of these videos, but that's all good news here.
Yeah,
so
the one thing, sorry, Gina,
No, go for it.
the one thing that in that facility that didn't get kind of highlighted there, and it's a small piece, but we have arguably the best tailgating experience on football Saturdays, as well as doing events around other sports like that. So our Boxer Club, which is our kind of booster club fundraising arm, hosts events throughout the year, every football Saturday, which is just a spectacular experience, not just for football families, but for all Pacific community. We do a winter social around basketball. We do a spring social, typically around a baseball or softball game that gets our alumni and donor base back out to campus and having a good time and supporting our student athletes. We did a faculty appreciation social. So it's more than just the playing experience. It really is about the whole of being a student athlete and being a student athlete's family. And so I saw just Libby, is there a parents weekend? We roped that into homecoming. So next year it's going to be homecoming and family weekend, really to kind of go big on that weekend for the entire community, from students, alums, all the way through those parents and past parents that continue to show up and support us even after their kids have graduated and moved on.
Yes, I was very surprised. I didn't go to Pacific as a student. I know it's kind of a shame, but when I first started working here, just seeing the type of support that the student athletes were receiving from alumni and parents whose students have already graduated on has been very, very eye-opening here about the community.
Admissions hosted an awesome tailgate with their staff and families a couple falls ago, and really good potluck food that showed up in the event. And so it's fun. It's a community event. I think maybe we haven't even talked about just Forest Grove in general. And, Forest Grove's a small college town, and the university is literally on Main Street. And so we partner with those restaurants and entities in town to support athletics as well. Local pizza joint sponsors, kind of the basketball side of it. And we've got a barbecue joint that does the football post-game parties. So it is that small college town feel that the community really does engage in our sports. 2 weeks ago at halftime of the basketball game, we had the youth dance company in town come and perform. And so there's this great kind of very personal relationship experience that can occur, not just on campus, but with the community as well.
Yeah, and I do believe there are a great many of our student athletes who are also working with Unified Sports and working with the local schools and stuff as well too. So a lot of great opportunities on campus. And for those of you who are wondering, Pacific was established in 1849. So we've been here for quite some time. We're actually older than the state of Oregon. So if that lets you know a little bit of background about our partnership with the community of Forest Grove, that'll kind of let you know how far back we go. So we're going to just hop right in. We've got a lot of questions coming in. And so I'm just going to kind of go in order of the questions that came in, and we'll kind of take it from there. So the first question, and I think it's a great question for all sports, but this came particularly for both football and men's tennis, as well as actually softball and volleyball. So the question is, what is the recruiting process like, and what types of players are we looking for here at Pacific?
Yeah, I'm gonna flop those a little bit, and I'll start with the what are we looking for kind of component. And I think this is a great time and space as I sit here representing athletics, and we have 3 members of our admissions teams here, because it really is the holistic element that we're looking for. So the same thing that our admission staff is looking for in individuals is very much what we're looking for in the athletic department. And that is truly driven students. This level and an institution like Pacific isn't really built for all athlete, no school mentality. It's just not a recipe for success. So we do need individuals that are driven, have a plan for academic success, as well as want to compete. And the great thing that I found when I came to Pacific, having left places like UC Davis and Stanford in my football career, was that at Pacific, nobody had to give up anything. Excuse me. You could achieve every academic goal, every athletic goal, and even, have a social experience and being in clubs and organizations and getting involved in the community and succeed in all that without having to give up one for the other. So it does take an ability to balance. It takes an ability, excuse me. It takes an ability to be time effective, I think, is really important. Now, man, I am sorry. We do have different recruiting for different sports. And so there is not a blanket, this is the recruiting process, or this is what we're looking for. Some sports are what we call fixed roster, meaning they only have so many roster spots that they can handle, that they can take on in a given year and carry throughout all 4 years. And then there's others that are very open roster oriented, that can take on a lot of individuals in a year, carry a large experience very successfully. And then we do have 5 sports that kind of sit in their own space. And that is baseball, softball, men's and women's basketball, and volleyball, where we have junior varsity programs as well as our NCAA varsity programs. So that further expands the opportunities, but also has very specific recruiting components to it in terms of opportunities to be on a varsity team, opportunities to be on a JV team, and opportunities to maybe try out when you arrive. And each sport kind of has a different avenue with that. And so every time we sit on an opportunity to talk about athletics, but this is the part where I say communicate with our coaches. They are there. They want to get to know you. They want to get to evaluate you in some capacity, and be very, very transparent and clear in their process. And that is forefront. And I think there's been some comments, I think we have some class of 24s maybe on the call tonight as well. It's never too early to reach out. And the response may be, hey, we're working on 23s right now. Get back in touch with me in May. That's okay. You'll be on the list. That means admissions will know about you. But each one has a very different kind of time frame based on when the recruiting calendar traditionally happens. Basketball is out on the road at AAU tournaments at very specific times, where football coaches are on the road right now. Whereas volleyball may be almost done with their varsity recruiting for the class of 24. They're not, but in some cases, some schools might be. And then we have very small roster sports of tennis and golf and a few of those that you do need to be in pretty direct contact with the coach to see where you sit in the recruiting process with them and in meeting some of the standards and components. The other side to that is every sport program has a pathway to potentially try out. If there's not a roster spot, if there's, hey, we're done for a year, there's always avenues and processes to maybe look at it. We also have intramurals. We also have 3 club sports. We have a nationally ranked handball team that has won multiple national championships. And almost all of those competitors in handball are former athletes in other sports. Not many people grow up playing handball, but you can pick it up if you're athletic pretty quickly and get it. And then we have a spirit squad, and then we have a men's rugby club. So there's just a ton of opportunities to get engaged, to get involved. But at the end of the day, you're all on this Zoom tonight because the word athletics spoke to you in some capacity. And so going through that process, and whether you've been involved in high school club, competitive sports, the coaches in each of those programs will know that as you send them information. When you do reach out, the more information you can provide, the better. So if you are playing on a club, giving them the club you're playing for, a coach contact, or the high school coach, high school contact, a huddle highlight if you have that in team sports. If you're more in an individual sport, golf, tennis, track, cross country, send them your times, your scores, those kind of things. The more detail you provide, the more capable they are of starting that recruiting process with you at a much more effective pace. But the other piece is, I'll say this to everybody, our admission staff is as tuned in to athletic recruiting as any place I've ever been in 25 years of college athletics. That we partner tremendously. They are in contact with coaches on a weekly, if not daily basis. So as you're communicating through this process with your admissions counselor, don't hesitate to say, hey, I reached out to coach, haven't heard back. And, Gina will have the calendar for every sport, and she'll be able to look at it and go, hey, they're in season. It may be a little while, be patient. And then Gina walks down to the office and knocks on coach's door and says, hey, have you had a chance to look at so-and-so and start that process? So our communication on our end is fantastic. But on your end, the more detailed, the more communicative you are in kind of highlighting your background, your success is really, really beneficial to us.
Awesome. Thank you. I usually get an uh-oh if I say, hey, coach, because it usually means I need something from them. Uncle, you touched a little bit on the chat, but for those of our families who are going to be watching this on the YouTube afterwards, the question that came in was, for students who are a current junior in high school right now, when is the best time to reach out to coaches? And I know, Keith, you kind of touched on this, but Uncle, if you can go into detail again with the question phrase as, once again, for our juniors in high school right now, when is a good time for students to reach out?
Now. Start the process. Get the communication going, get the relationship going. So you're getting an opportunity to get to know the coach or coaches. And if you're in a team sport like football, the position coaches as well, they're going to be a direct conduit, obviously, to the head coach. But yeah, start the process now. And if you go to goboxers.com and there is a recruit link, some of the programs have specific recruiting pages that you can fill out. Not everyone does, not every team, but reach out to the coach. And then if you reach out to your admissions counselor, they can definitely connect you up with whatever head coach or that of the sport you're interested in. We want to connect you as quickly as possible. One of the things that we like to do is when a student is accepted, we send you a congratulations email, as I mentioned. But I like to make sure that whether it's a soccer player, a baseball player, doesn't matter. I'm going to let the coach know. So I basically, and the coaches know I do this, put your name and your school and your sport and what you do at the bottom of my email, and I CC them, and so they get to know that you're accepted and what your merit scholarship is as well. So, and when you're a junior, start, man, or sophomore, start. That's the nice thing about Division III. We don't have all the silent periods and everything that D1 and D2 has.
Awesome, thank you. And I see Brent, who's got our little minors making appearances here. So we just like to say hi. And if you're unsure of who your admissions, hello, Jack. If you are unsure of who your admissions counselor is, you can also just send an email to our general email, admissions@pacificu.edu, and we'll make sure to get you in contact with the correct coach or your admissions counselor and kind of help you through that process. The next question that's coming up, and I think it's a great question as well, but this student looks like a football player. When are tryouts for the upcoming season going to start?
Yeah, and again, no sport has a show up when school starts, when you're a freshman, walk in to practice and say, hey, here to try out. We have a lot of processes in place that have to occur before anybody can step on a practice field of any kind. Sports medicine, NCAA paperwork, their eligibility. There's just a slew of things that need to be done. So anybody interested in trying out has to get in contact with coaches prior to that. And to be honest, if you wait until the month before you show up, it may not happen in that first year. You really do, as a senior, have to get into the communication funnel with our coaches so that they can figure out what the right steps and opportunities are. Like I said, each sport has a very variable of how they do it, but to kind of generally, there are guaranteed roster spots where a coach will offer somebody a roster spot, meaning that they really aren't trying out when they get here, they're on the team. And then there are kind of walk-on components of, hey, we think you have a shot, go through, get all your paperwork done, come, and then we'll kind of evaluate when you get here. And go from there. And then there is true kind of walk on that might be in the spring. If there's not a roster spot in the fall, that you may get asked to try out in the spring. And again, I don't want to say that to deter anybody. I just want everybody to understand, when you start communication early, you're going to have clarity and transparency through the process. So you will know exactly where you stand on kind of a recruiting board, so to speak, and how that process plays out. And as we go through the admissions phase and you see it, as I'm sure many of you have friends that have signed Division I scholarships, when there's a athletic scholarship and National Signing Day involved, recruiting's over the second that pen goes to paper on signing day. For us, it kind of goes much longer and a little bit more drawn out due to the admissions process, the financial aid process, and the deposit process at the end. So we keep bigger lists for longer periods of time, so to speak. But the first and priority is to get your information to a coach so they can kind of start to figure out what type of contributor you might be to their program. And tennis is just because it's on my mind right now and seeing some questions. Our tennis coaches use UTR, Universal Tennis Ranking, and tennis recruiting. Those are the two kind of components that they use in the process, which is very clean because it's a national ranking system. So if you're playing in ITA tournaments and playing in these competitive environments, your ranking is going to help them dictate where you're at. If you're only playing in high school and maybe don't have a UTR or tennis recruiting ranking, now the coach needs to see your film. The coach may need to try and find a way to come see you play. May need to get you on campus for a visit where you can go hit with current athletes to evaluate it that way. But that's just one sport with 3 different avenues to be evaluated, and we don't know that until you get in contact with Coach Murata or Coach Binder to start figuring that component out. Football is really easy. Almost every high school in the country uses Hudl. It's very easy to put a Hudl highlight together or send game film. So coaches very quickly can do some evaluation. Basketball, summer AAU is a big component to that, but also sending video highlights. Soccer is the same way. Volleyball now has video from club and high school. So there are ways now for coaches to evaluate fairly quickly almost every sport. Cross country track, your times are your times. We can gauge potential for you to improve and kind of set a ceiling. But you know what your times are, and we get a chance to see where that fits within our programs. So everybody's kind of got that. Wrestling, wins, losses, state finishes, league finishes, all those kind of things help us identify where you are as a wrestler. And so there's really not a sport short of rowing, and I don't think we have any rowers on here that really have that kind of difficult component to it in the recruiting process. So if you don't have film, if you don't have kind of contact profile components, it does get a little bit harder. If you haven't played club soccer, it gets a little bit more challenging because we are looking for kind of highly competitive individuals in those sports.
Perfect, thank you. And we've got several more questions coming in, so I'm going to ask to kind of zip through these. Brand, I got a question for you as a former coach and a current admissions counselor. One of the questions that came in here is, are there academic resources to help student athletes keep up with their schoolwork and their grades? This is a great question.
Absolutely, Gina Lee. There's a lot of support. There's a lot of one of the nice things about Pacific is the average class is going to have 19 students. So there is support. There's the peer tutoring in the library, the Center for Learning and Student Success. But the students at Pacific know their professors. So having the opportunity to sit in and go ask the professors that will be writing the tests how they can help. And so there's a lot of support for the students. Absolutely.
Perfect, thank you. And this is for students who want to play multiple sports. Specifically, the student is interested in football and golf. Are students able to play a multi-athlete sport?
Absolutely. And it really is on a case-by-case basis and requires some communication with both coaches. But we have a number of student athletes that do multiple. We got football, baseball, football, basketball, football, track. So that's a lot of it. The hardest ones are the winter sports because they overlap with both fall and spring. So that gets a little bit more challenging for those, but that all has to be communicated amongst the coaches and the student athletes. But we have no issues with multi-sport athletes at Pacific.
Perfect. And Uncle, I think this might be a good question for you. It's a little bit more about financial aid. If the income in 2022 is less than, sorry, I'm just going to read this question. If your income will be less in 2022, can you readjust your FAFSA so it's more accurate to fit the current financial situation?
Yeah, so if you are entering in the fall of 2023 and you have loss of income in 2022, it's important to work with your admissions counselor and your financial aid counselor, because each student here has their own financial aid counselor. And so that loss of income can definitely be taken into account when putting together the financial aid award for the coming year, for the fall of 2023. But it's important to work together because the financial aid counselor I know they'll require certain documents so that if they make changes based on that information, we get audited by the feds every year, and so we have to have basically backup or proof of why we made those decisions. But yeah, that's definitely a possibility for sure.
Thank you. And every admitted student here is also assigned a financial aid counselor. Go ahead and reach out to your admissions counselor to find out who the contact is and what type of information is needed. And the admissions counselor will be able to help you with that. This was kind of in follow up with the question on how do I kind of get in touch with the coaches. Are there any upcoming camps coming up? And is it too late for the the fall 2023 students?
Most of our camps typically run in the summer and in the fall. There are a couple prospect camps. I think soccer does April. Baseball does a few prospect camps during the course of the spring. They are mostly for the following year's class. But I know we did have a few year ofs come to those camps last year as well. So again, just reaching out to coaches to really highlight that. I know we've got some 24s on here. Summer camp 24 or 23 summer camp information should be coming out here pretty shortly. We're working on getting everything scheduled up for those camps for this upcoming summer.
Perfect. And if you're unsure how to reach out to the coaches in the chat, I did add in our athletics webpage. It is www.goboxers.com, and you should be able to find the coaches' contact information on there. This is a little bit of a trickier question. This is specifically for women's wrestling. Do athletes have the choice to participate in practice but not compete?
Yeah, I mean, specific to wrestling, they are always looking for wrestling partners, practice partners. In that capacity, it just helps make practices more effective and more productive. So yes, would hope that if you put all the work in that you want to get on the mat. And one of the things we do have in wrestling is we go to quite a few open tournaments where it's not a dual meet, all eyes on you at one time. We just had 300 wrestlers in the gym for the Mike Clock Open, and it was wrestlers from all over the West region, both men and women's wrestling. But again, that's a conversation to have with Coach Binkard, and talk through what type of experience you're looking for, and whether that coach and that program can accommodate those requests or not.
Thank you. And you touched a little bit on this during the campus tour video, but this is specifically from a softball athlete. When it's raining or worse, which sports use the indoor facilities at Pacific at what times? They're kind of thinking like in the winter months and the months that we're headed into right now.
Yeah, so we have a scheduling policy for all of our facilities, for the gym, for the field house, for our outdoor facilities. Just to make sure that there's equity in the experience and to access to our facilities and spaces. So when we're in that kind of January, February, and it is wet and cold outside, our in-season sports get priority for that. So baseball, softball, lacrosse really do kind of get the priorities in that space. And then our other sports, our fall sports, football, soccer, get in kind of around the baseball, softball scheduling. Baseball and softball switch quite a bit. So one gets the, 5 to 7 timeline and one gets the 7 to 9. And but it is all kind of rooted in our usage policy and trying to create equity of the experience in that space. It is in high demand by no short order.
Yes, definitely. And this question might be great for you, Uncle, as well. Are there any majors that would interfere with any of the athletic sports that we have on campus?
Well, no, I don't think so. And the nice thing is that your academics is your number one priority. So when we're doing registration for your classes, particularly, for example, fall sports, you're going to know when your practices are. And so we try and schedule your classes so you don't have to miss practice. But if you have a class that runs in their practice time, and you that's priority first. And then when I was coaching here, guys would come late to practice or they'd leave early to go to an evening lab or something, but we want to have both experiences be top flight and top notch. So we work real hard to make sure you're getting the best of both worlds.
Perfect, thank you. And the question that came in was kind of what did the team lockers look like? Again, we shared the video, and I'm going to go ahead and enter in a link straight to that video on the chat. And for those of you who are joining us through the YouTube video, I will go ahead and make sure that link is also left in the kind of caption section below, so you have access to that. The question that came in, this is from a football student. What is the environment like, and what type of defense do you guys run?
High pressure defense. We like getting after the quarterback and kind of creating havoc on defense. But very, very flexible. We use the personnel that we have. So I have both a 3-4 and a 4-3 package based off of whether a linebacker crew is deeper than the D line or vice versa in that. And I think I speak for all athletics when I talk about what is the environment and the culture like. It is very, very family focused. We talk about that Boxer Nation, that Boxer Ohana as it is. And for those who aren't from Hawaii on the call, we get over 20% of our students from the state of Hawaii. And so there is a cultural diverse element that comes with that that is really, really unique. It's the largest percentage of students, not just athletes, in the country on the mainland at Pacific. So it is a huge piece of who we are and what we do that carries into athletics. This year, I saw just pop up kind of how many students come from out of Oregon. Athletically, I won't talk about the institution, but just athletically, about 2/3 of our student athletes came from outside of Oregon this year. And
Awesome.
mostly West Coast. So Hawaii, California, Washington, Arizona, Colorado, Idaho, Montana, smattering, mostly West Coast. But definitely more from outside of the state than in the state of Oregon. And I'm one of them. I came from California. I absolutely love Oregon, and I'm never leaving.
Yeah, I'm from Hawaii and I haven't left either, Coach. Yeah, actually, there's more students that come to Pacific from outside the state of Oregon than come from Oregon.
Yep. And this is a question: is when do the students find out whether or not they're considered for the team, or if they're no longer being considered? This is specifically to men's tennis, but I think it's also a great question for all of our student athletes here.
Yeah, I think that's the transparency from coaches individually. And there are times that, a coach will immediately say, hey, I don't know if we're going to have a roster spot for you. And there's times that, hey, you're on the board. We're going through the process. We really like what you got. And then there's other times that a coach will say, you come, you've got a spot. So it really is the combination of the process, the evaluation, and the timeline.
Perfect. And this question came in through the chat. I'm not quite sure which sport this would be pertaining to, but when students come for their official visit, what do you do for the 48 hours while they're on campus?
Yeah, again, sport to sport, but the idea is when you come for a visit, and I encourage everybody, if you have the ability to come and put boots on the ground on campus and spend a day in our athletes' shoes, I think it's really, really valuable and gives you a sense of what the environment and the team culture is and the campus environment is. I say do it, but you're going to spend time with the team. You're going to spend time with the coaches. You may get time with admissions or a faculty member. It kind of depends timing and the ability of the faculty and those components. But the idea is for you to come and be a student athlete for 24 to 48 hours, however long that is. Hopefully we're playing in some sport so you can go out and take a peek. But we do senior previews and then sometimes official visits after that. So if you're going to come and get that extra $1,000 and want to spend a little bit more time after that, with our coaches, with our teams. That's really, really positive experience in the process.
Thank you. And Coach Buck is referring to our Senior Preview Scholarship Day. If you have yet to register or attend, it is open for all high school seniors, and we have a couple of virtual events. So if you're a little bit further away and you can't make it in person, we do have them in virtual, but if you can come in person, it's a great experience to kind of be on campus. You can also eat breakfast in the dining area and hear from our faculty, as well as get a campus tour. And all students who attend will get an additional $1,000 a year. So it's a $4,000 scholarship just to visit campus. There's no studying or anything you need to do. It's just come, visit, listen, and that's all you need. And the next question here, and I know we're kind of getting close to time, but we just have a few more questions and we'll go ahead and end it there. Is there a national signing day for D3?
There is not a national signing day for Division III. What there is, once you are admitted to Pacific, we can produce and send out a celebratory signing letter. So if you want to participate in your school's signing process, a lot of times now high schools are putting on events that allow individuals at all levels to kind of celebrate where they're going to go and be a student athlete at. We can produce that celebratory letter, get it out to you so that you have something to participate that day with. I have to, by NCAA rule, tell you it's non-binding, like the NLI, the National Letter of Intent. You're locked in. This is merely a celebratory kind of piece of paper that you can have. But yeah, we encourage that. We love that. I think it does create some finality to the process. It allows you to breathe, that you've made a decision, you know where you're going to be, and kind of going through that signing process really is the culmination of a long process for you.
Yes, and if you are low on swag, Pacific swag, reach out to your admissions counselor. We have plenty to give out and we'll mail that over to you. Just give us enough time to get it shipped out, and that way you will have everything all set up for you on your signing day here. Brant, as a Oregonian, does it snow a lot up here? The students are interested in running cross country. Should they be worried about the weather?
No, absolutely not. The weather's great to run. It's not as hot as some places. It's not as cold as some places. The nice thing is we get a taste of all 4 seasons here. So maybe you get a couple of days of snow in the winter, build a snowman, have some fun, and then it melts. And the same thing in the summer. The average high in July and August is 80 degrees. No humidity. It is a beautiful place in Forest Grove. So I don't think there's a lot of great running weather here.
Perfect. Yes, we have 4 very distinct seasons, but all very mild seasons as well. So no extreme weathers there. And we are down to our last question, and this is a great question for all of our student athletes. If a student is injured while playing varsity sport at Pacific, what's the financial responsibility of the student athlete?
Yeah, so at our level, your individual primary insurance is primary still. If somebody is injured during the course of practice, competition, any services received will bill primary insurance first, but then we carry what's called the secondary insurance policy that covers any of the out-of-pocket that might be sent to a family. So if your insurance covers 80% and you're expected to pay 20% out of pocket, our secondary insurance covers that 20%. So if you were hurt as an athlete, there should be no out-of-pocket expense for you from that injury. Now I do want to make sure I say, and all the time, if you go up to the mountain and go snowboarding and break your wrist, that's not an athletic injury. Our coverage does not kick in for any of that. It is literally as a course of practice competition that kicks in. But we have one of the premier orthopedic clinics in the state as a partner with us. So Dr. Brad Butler is our orthopedic surgeon, one of the most respected surgeons in the state. We have a team physician that comes out every week. We are very, very well taken care of from a medical standpoint and actually from a mental health standpoint too. We have a mental health working group. We have a sports psychologist through our graduate school of psychology that comes over. And we haven't talked about it. Pacific's got more than a dozen health profession grad programs that we get to leverage as well in terms of PT, OT, physician assistant, master in athletic training, psychology. We really have a lot of expertise at our hands to take care of our student athletes and do sport vision as well. Every single athlete that comes in gets a vision screening in the fall for us to be able to start to build a database of knowledge about how to make you the best you can be and keep you the healthiest you can be.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. I believe those are all the questions that we received. And again, we will have a second session. It is going to follow the same layout where we're going to do a little bit of introductions on the admissions and the athletic side. But if you find that there's another question that you would like to ask and want to hop on to the second session, feel free to do so. You can re-register if you'd like, or just shoot me an email. I was the one that sent out that confirmation. Just say, hey, Gina, we'd like to be able to attend that second session. I'll make sure that you get the link. Otherwise, I do want to thank everybody for joining us here tonight, and thank to Coach Buck here and Uncle Jeff and Brent here for hopping in and answering all these questions. We are here and available whenever you need us. Feel free to email us, answer, and send us any questions you have. Again, if you'd like some swag sent over, go ahead and email your admissions counselor. We're more than happy to send those out to you. But thank you so much for hopping in, and have a great rest of the day, everybody. And thank you for those on YouTube who are viewing this. Make sure to click on the link below and you can see that tour video once again. And we'll see you back for the next session, hopefully.
Thanks, guys.
Go Boxers.
Go
Perfect.
Boxers.
And Coach Buck, if you can hang on just a second, we did get a question. Do you have to do a physical beforehand for football?
Yes, for all sports.
And your coaches should be reaching out to you once you've made your deposit and commitment to Pacific about next steps. And so checking those emails are going to be very, very important. Thank you, everybody. Have a great rest of the evening. Awesome. Thank you to our team. I'll see you guys tomorrow on campus or whenever I see you, Coach Buck.
Thanks. See you guys.
Bye.
Take care.